Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us here at IDLM, International Doula Life Movement. I am Anna Adams,
And I am Pam Carter.
and we want to thank you for watching our discovery called to be a death end-of-life doula. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can share some great information with you today. You know, as Pam and I work and talk to a lot of students and graduates, we all hear about the same thing about people saying, I don't know what program to choose. I don't know if this is something I can do. I don't know what I need to have. Do I have to have a medical background? And so I think pretty much we go through this quite often. So hopefully with this presentation today, you'll be able to get those questions answered. And as always, we'll be giving you our phone numbers and information on our last slide of the presentation here so that you can reach out to us. So I guess, Pam, we'll get started. Like I said, my name is Anna. I'm the CEO and founder of International Doula Life Movement. I have been working in hospice since I was 16 years old. I had my first hospice patient. And from that point, I've worked in crisis care and hospice inpatient. And currently I work with a couple of hospices here in my local hometown in San Antonio, Texas, as an on-staff end-of-life doula. And so I'm also the program creator for the end-of-life doula certification and one of the instructors as well for that, because we have many instructors and they're all over the world. And as you'll see, Pam is somewhere different. Pam?
I am somewhere different. You're in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. And I have been doing end-of-life doula work plus years. I was doing it and always said transition coach. And then now I am proud to say that I'm an end-of-life doula. I'm an end-of-life doula instructor. I teach the end-of-life doula course with you. And I also am the program creator and instructor for our 365 and our advanced care planning class, which advanced care planning is such a critical thing. And we'll talk more about that.
We sure will. We sure will. We're going to share a little bit about the IDLM story, just so you kind of know a little bit about us and who we are. So IDLM this is being recorded in 2024, going into 2025, but we're turning 4 years old, and it was a need that I saw. And it's so kind of funny, Pam, how we connected those years ago. But, you know, we were both, I hate to say it, but we both were victims of a programming that we paid way too much money for and got absolutely nothing from it. Nothing. And so we just, I started looking at things and ended up mentoring that group, that cohort that I was in. And then it got me thinking, if I'm talking to 30 other people and helping them, and they took the same program and they're all coming out and saying the same thing, this has got to be an issue. So I put a post out and said, hey, can y'all help me to a doula group, and said, hey, can y'all help me? I'm looking to find out some more information for a little research that I'm doing. And so I got many responses, and the comebacks for that research project was, questions that I asked about, how did you feel about the cost of your program? And did you feel like you got everything you need? And all those things that came back to me was, one, they felt that it was overly cost. And number two, that they didn't get what they needed. And so when I asked, like, what do you feel that you needed? And a lot of that came back was community. People to turn back and talk to and connect. I mean, I think, Pam, here we've got an amazing community of doulas.
We have a tremendous community of doulas. Our students are unique in that everyone wants to work together. It's amazing, and it's uplifting to be a member of this body, because everybody's there to support you. If you're going through and you're working with a client, there's always somebody you can reach out and talk to. We have the movement, which I know you're going to talk more about, but it's our community so that people can interact. With a lot of the other schools, you go to school, you may be listening to webinars, so you're really not interacting with your fellow students.
Nope.
Or you may be doing it even self-paced, because some of them are totally self-paced. But with us, you're interacting. You get to interact if you're taking a live presentation, which means you're going to a class in San Antonio or somewhere else that's being presented live, or if you're in a live training online. Our trainings are not recorded. They're live as they're happening. So again, a sense of community, and you can ask questions and get immediate answers, not ask questions and wait days or maybe even weeks to get answers.
Absolutely. And, in the live online classes, we do record just in case you miss a class. You can always go back and watch the recording, but they're interactive, just as we are here, as you can see me and Pam communicating here. They're live and interactive. It's not a webinar where you have to put the questions in a box and hopefully you'll get your question answered, or you must submit it into an email and see if you ever get an answer, which we've had a lot of students who have told us, before I came to IDLM, I've submitted questions to a program. And matter of fact, I don't know if you remember this one student that we had. She said, Anna, at graduation, she said this. She said, Anna, I told you about that email that I sent out before I started your program. She says, you know what? Here we are at graduation, and I still have never gotten a response. Mm-hmm. So this is another reason why we also give our personal information, our numbers, our emails, addresses, so that our students can reach out to us. It's not just for when you're, in the classroom. Once you're a part of our community here at IDLM, you're always a part of that community, and we're here whenever you need us.
Another thing, and I have to insert here too, and I already said, our classes are live, but the benefit is no matter which class, and we have so many different classes because we really believe in thorough education, but no matter what class you're taking, the instructor is present. It's not a webinar. It's not pre-recorded. You're not listening to a recording and then somebody else is guiding your discussion. You're hearing everything. So the person you need to ask questions of right there in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And that, they're working in their field.
Yes. They're around.
That reminds me, we had someone that reached out, wanted more information and wanted to talk to some people in the community that was working. And it was actually in your area. And I said, well, let me get you Pam. She's my executive director here at IDLM. And she goes, well, but I want to talk to someone that's practicing, not just an instructor. And I said, she is practicing. I said, she just finished working with 3 clients this week, So we actually are out there seeing clients on a daily basis. I've been out seeing clients. I mean,
that's so important, Anna. That is so important, because some of the training is being taught by instructors that did this work 10, 15, 5 years ago. In our case, everybody, yourself, myself, all our instructors, we're doing it daily. I mean, I just came from a meeting this morning. I did a consultation on Saturday. We are constantly working. So our programming, I like to say, is state of the art, because if something's changing, we know what's going on. We know what is making that change so that we can educate the people that it affects. And that is so important. So our information is fresh, up to date, on time, and moving with the times. Not something, I did this 45 years ago. Let me tell you, when I first started, there's a world of difference in what I do today. And the knowledge and the help and the support available to families, so different. And if I didn't stay active and I was basing it on then, well, we'd all be hung back in the 1970s.
Yeah, it's changed so much over time with rules and regulations and what the hospice can and can't do. It changes so much. And, here's the thing. That's why we are affordable. We want people that are called to this line of work to be able to afford to do it. That was really a big thing that came back on that research that I did was, it's something that should be affordable. So we work with everybody here, and that is why our training is so affordable. We hear it all the time from our students. You should be charging thousands of dollars for what you're giving. And especially because we update, they can come in and audit a class. Once they take the course, they can come back again. Actually, we even recommend to our students, because we upgrade our information so often, that they should come in at least every 2 years, if not sooner.
Oh, yeah. Because
Yes.
the classes we started with 4 years ago, those are shells compared to what we have today.
It has changed so much every year. We're constantly updating. And, there are no governed bodies over doulas. And Pam, this is one thing I hear all the time, and I have to hit on this because it just gets under my skin at times. People will say, oh, my program's accredited, or, oh, this and that. No. And I did research on that as well. And what I found out is that what they're doing is they're going through a holistic accreditation to become accredited. But when you go and look at what they're serving up for the end of life, and they're calling it like an end of life doula program, what they're serving up is it's not connecting.
Not at all. At
So, got to be out in the look.
We also have structured the school so that when the time comes, and there is going to come a time when there's going to be certification, our students are going to be ready for that, because we offer the things that are necessary to keep them on par with what will be required. And that's a huge difference. But a certificate is only as good as the people that stand behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Only as good as, are they current? Are they working in the field? Have they become a personality and now all they do is talk about things they did in the past? Or can they tell you about the client that just died? I lost a client 2 weeks ago. I've got somebody that's got a mother pending death now. I was working with someone this morning that is a doula that's doing bedside work. We're constantly present. And that makes all the difference in the world, especially with the certifications.
Yeah, it's just, I know that's been something that has popped up a lot lately. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that we address that throughout our story and being here. But that's where we came about, was seeing and hearing all these different things from, and I still hear on a daily basis, but seeing and hearing that firsthand, and just, I really felt that that needed to be changed. And so that's how IDLM came about. Throughout this, I've had this slide up that tells you a little bit about what we're going to talk about. I'm not going to read it all to y'all, but let's start off. What is an end of life doula or death doula? So first off, I have to say, many people call themselves different things. When I walk in, especially with my hospice job, I tell the nurses, tell them that I'm their own personal advocate. Mm-hmm. And then when I go and I meet the client, the patient, I let them know, yes, I am your personal advocate, and I'm going to be a wealth of resource for you. But I'm also called an end of life doula. And then I go in and I explain to them, that we are non-medical, but we are there to help physically, emotionally, and spiritually during the death process, through the end of life, through a terminal illness. But I also work with people who are non-terminal. Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing that gets missed so much, is that you see everything. It's like, oh, doulas do da. But we need to be working with people before a terminal illness.
Absolutely. I mean, I like to see people get a doula just like you get a doctor. If they understand that we're their insurance policy that they write, and they decide when they're going to pay it. Right. Because we're there with them from the beginning and all the way through to the end. And I've seen several cases here in Atlanta recently where people wanted to know the doula now, so that when mom's Alzheimer's is really acting up and we are in the final stages, mom knows you and we know you and we can trust you.
Well, it's about the relationship.
It's about the relationship. You build a relationship. We become the best friend you didn't know you needed.
Yeah. And suddenly we're the best secret. So we're the best secret. So, but when we come into our doula work, some of the things that we do are creating that sacred space, providing that emotional and spiritual support, initiating conversations about the dying process, about their wishes of what they want, supporting the family and for, self-care and burnout, because, I always end up finding myself having this conversation as I'm leaving. I just had it happen today too. Is I told, the daughter said, well, me and my brother have been switching off. And I said, good, you need to. You've got to be a son and a daughter at some point, and you also need to go and refill your cup. And so we have to sometimes remind them of that,
Absolutely. And there is a time when they need loving on. They need to be loved on as much as the client needs to be loved on. And that's another thing that doulas do such a wonderful job at, is not only are we, if we're working at end of life, working with that person that's transitioning and going to leave us, but we're working with the family that then has to put their life back together.
Right.
So we serve a dual purpose.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just so much between educating about, preparing and educating about the dying process, educating about the mysteries and unexplained events that could happen through that process, giving them, I like to think of it as I tell my clients, I'm going to lay out all these cards and I'm going to tell you all these different things and give you all these resources, but you choose and make the best decisions for yourself. One thing I want to hit on too, Pam, is that I like to call them my angel vigil watches, but vigils that happen, I find that I usually do it with clients that don't have any other family members around. But also I want to make the point too that not all doulas do vigils, and that's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. All doulas don't do angel vigil watches. Some doulas only want to educate families. Some doulas want to be there in case there's a question. They want to answer it. They want to help set the stage for the end of life, but they don't want to be present at the end of life. And that's okay too. Everybody isn't called to that time. But there's so much more important work. I mean, I have to reflect back. This past Saturday, I did a consult with a mom and her daughter. Mom is in her late 80s. The daughter is going to have to take care of everything. But mom has never wanted to have the conversation. We met over the course of about 3.5 hours. Mom was telling her everything she needed, talking to her about what she wanted, saying yes to this and no to that, talking about traditions and things she wanted upheld. And her daughter was like, Mom, you've never told me these things. She said, well, I never thought about it this way. And my point in that is that as a doula, we lead those discussions that are so difficult for families to have. It's hard to look at your mom and say, Mom, do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be green buried? Do you want to be traditional buried? How do you want to be shot up in a rocket and sent to the moon? What do you want? That's really a hard conversation. But when someone else says, let me talk to you about final body disposition, and then everything is explained, and someone has the opportunity to then go, I think I want to be cremated. Yes, I want to be cremated. No, I don't want to be embalmed. Yes, I do want to be cremated in my favorite wedding dress or my favorite ball gown or my favorite, football jersey and baseball hat. Whatever they want, they get to set the stage. And then the family members are not left wondering. And they're able then to have the conversation that as a family, it's been so difficult to have. Because let's face it, death is not the conversation at most dinner tables, unless you're you and I, Anna.
Right, or any of our doulas that we can sit and do that with. But it's having those open conversations. It's helping them navigate through the medical system. I had a client that I was working with that they didn't know that they could file an appeal and request more days on a hospital stay. Families don't know that, and they don't know how to do it. And so I stepped them through it, and I said, hey, if you need me there, I'll come in. Yes, please come in, because you know what to say. And, but it's learning all those things. It's helping with the end of life paperwork. It's that grief support, like we mentioned a few ago, about being there to help them put those pieces back together. The funeral arrangements and getting to know all of that. So those are different types of things that doulas will typically do. in this realm of work that we do. And a lot of times we get asked, well, is this something new? And, is doula work something new? And it's not. The quick answer is no, it's not.
No.
It's a term that's been used since the early 1980s in relations to birth and postpartum care, but was first applied to death care in the late 1990s. So think about it, also too, who cared for the sick? Years ago, before we had, doctors used to make home visits and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Who used to care for them? Well, it was a family member stayed at home. They helped take care of the sick. They kind of like would know that this person is getting ready to die. And so they would, group of people would go and start digging the grave and creating the coffin and all of that. So it's really been something around. And I would have to say, like, when I think COVID hit,
Oh, yeah.
years ago, it really put an opening mind. I think people now are wanting to talk about death more. I have found that in more of the workshops that I've been doing in my community. I recently did one at a church group, and out of about 15 people, about good 7 people were already asking about medical aid in dying and how do they put that in their advanced directives? How do they get to know more information about it for when that time comes? So people are open and wanting to talk about end of life issues and what type of care they would receive, but they don't know who to go to, because sometimes we go to the doctor and we get shut off. It's like,
the doctors don't know how to talk about it. They're not trained to talk about it. They take that oath of doing no harm, and they live by that. And in their opinion, harm means we can't have these discussions.
Right. Absolutely. And, so as a doula, we're a wealth of resource and being there support for the family, for the client. And a lot of times too, another question that we get quite often asked is, what's the difference between hospice and a death doula or end of life doula? And it's real pretty simple, straight laced here. As you can see on our slide here, we have, hospice is over here, and they manage the medical care there. It's typically covered by insurance. And if it's not, they can fall under, a pro bono or charity, because all hospices have to do a certain number of those types of cases. They have licensing, right? We have the RN, the LVN, or LPN, depending on your area, nurse practitioner, the doctor, the chaplain, the social worker, the CNAs, things like that. They're all licensed staff, and the care is defined. And then they are there to pronounce the death. And I have to always say this because it's, as you see here, it says provide bereavement care. Hospice bereavement is basically 13 months. They get a letter sent out on the 1st month, the 3rd month, the 6th, the 9th, the 12th, and the 13th month. And that's it. Usually they may have some hospices, it's very different from hospice to hospice. Some do a little bit more than others, some don't. Mm-hmm. And so they get to, maybe have a memorial service, or, maybe they may offer them some grief support groups and things like that. But, here's the thing. We talked about how doulas provide, we're building a relationship. And so studies have shown that bereavement actually really kicks in after the 13th week.
Yep.
And it can go as far as up to 26, 28 weeks after. And that's when that support is needed the most. And as a doula, I find myself doing that really organically, to be honest. I don't know about you, Pam. I think it just streamlines.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I stay in touch. I've got clients that I lost 4 and 5 years ago, and I'm still speaking to the family.
Yeah.
It's just
that person that's close to the person that has died.
And people look at doulas as they gain their confidence. They do see us as their ally, their partner, their trusted other person. And they look to us for guidance.
Yeah. No, they do. And going here and looking at the chart here. So as a doula, we're going to reinforce. Sometimes they need reminders. All this information coming to them at once, it's really difficult to keep track of everything. to remember what's being told to them, and doulas are typically private, hired, or contracted maybe to working with the family. We have no regulations, no board or government board that says you can and can't do this and that. All of our skill sets are different. My skill sets are different from Pam's, where I've been in the medical field since I was 16 years old. I do a lot of medical background, where Pam's background is more the advanced planning and helping with in that area. But she's also able still working with families and helping them and stepping them through this end of life journey as well.
Oh yeah. Because I've done this so long, Anna, I always say I'm the doula that does it all. When I arrive at a home, I always say, what can I do for you? And then I take my cues from what they need.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and every patient and family is going to need something different. Mm-hmm. Just because they may have the same diagnosis as your last client
doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean it's going to go the same way. We provide non-medical care. And then also, again, that bereavement is just really organically.
And, I want to insert here too, because like you were talking about, we don't have any per se guidelines. There's no governing board for us. I think one of the differences with IDLM is that although we are not governed, any of the schools are not governed, we do teach to abide by certain standards in the industry, which is extremely important because those standards do two things. They uphold the trust that you're building within that family, and they also uphold the presence of being professionals, of not just somebody that's doing this because they can or they thought they'd try it. We uphold professional standards to give our clients peace of mind.
There is that standard that we do hold, because we've had people say, oh, well, my other school, maybe they went to another doula training program and they're still looking for more, which we find a lot of people do that before they get here. And, we never even talked about it. We never even talked about this or that. And so we do really set some standards. Also, one of the things that I have had conversations about with different organizations, hospice organizations, is wrong information being given.
Yes.
And we have come across that as well.
Oh, yeah.
And, we have partnerships with amazing companies that we work with. We teach our students how to utilize the hospice care plan from Odonata Care. Right. We teach our students how to utilize the Barbara Carnes End of Life Guidelines series, so that they never give the wrong information. And we not only do that, is we're teaching them how to utilize the book, how to give the families homework, and to piece it out where it's not overwhelming for the family.
Yep.
Anybody can hand anybody a book, but if you're not going to sit there and go through it with them and utilize that book and have those conversations with them, the book does no good.
No. And if you just hand them a book, they lay it down. They don't go back to it.
They don't go back to it. So we talk about those things and how those homework assignments to our families are so important. But why are end-of-life doulas needed if hospice is available? Well, we could go on about this part for days, I'm sure.
Yep.
The more and more we see out there, because again, we're out there practicing daily, so we see it. But the truth of the matter is our elder population is actually going to outgrow us. And families, with insurance guidelines, I felt totally, and this has changed when they lifted the pandemic and took that off. I saw so many different changes in the medical system that, more families are having to care for their loved ones at home and they're needing more support. I get calls all the time. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's a crisis that's happening when we're getting those phone calls, right? So the crisis has been, my mom's coming home today and I don't even have an idea about how to change a brief. I don't know how to do this or that. Tell them, don't worry, I got you. We've got those resources that we use as doulas to help educate them.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and the patients, a lot too are wanting to be at home, which is great, but families need that help and support. Um,
I don't know what it's like in San Antonio, Texas. I do know what it's like in Atlanta, Georgia. And our hospices are overworked. Our
mhm.
hospices, the demand for care is greater than those that can offer the assistance. And I know I work with one primarily real close hospice here, and then I refer to a couple of others, but they're always saying, we don't have enough staff. Or I've had people go into hospice. They come home from the hospital, they're going into hospice. The family doesn't know what to expect. They've never been down this route. This just happened a couple of weeks ago. I had someone that the mother was coming home to die. She was a stroke victim. Her daughter didn't know anything about nothing. And the hospital is sending her home, and hospice is coming. Mom's coming home from the hospital at 5 o'clock, and hospice isn't going to arrive until 8 o'clock. And now, what do we do in the interim? I was there. I met the ambulance when the ambulance came, got mom settled, got her cleaned up, changed. She was resting comfortably when hospice arrived to do their intake. The daughter was able to sit at the kitchen table and have a cup of coffee and take a couple of deep breaths, which she hadn't been able to do in a week because everything had been so chaotic. And then listening as the hospice did the intake, so that when they left, I could reiterate all those things that just kind of went right out of her head, because it's a lot of information. So for doulas to be there and work side by side with your hospice is amazing. And in my case, and I know in yours, Anna, I work real closely with a hospice. When they know that I'm working a case, they're like, so glad to have you as part of the team, because it makes their job so much easier. You're going to take so much off of them, and they're going to be so grateful because they've got so much work to do and not enough staff to do it.
And not only that, I just recently visited with the family, and they said, Anna, I wish that the hospice would have had you come in when we were doing consents. I learned more from you and your visit here today, which I will tell you, a lot of my visits, they were laughing at me because a lot of my visits are at least an hour to 2.5 to 2 hours long, at least. And they said, but I've learned more in your visit here today in questions that I had or things I didn't understand today than I did 2 years ago when I signed on to hospice.
Yep. Yeah. So true. So
and
true.
With rules, again, going back, these rules are always changing with, Medicare guidelines, Medicaid guidelines, things like that. And trying to stay on top of that and learning that families just don't know which way to go or how to navigate that system. So we're definitely filling in those medical care gaps and providing that extra support and guidelines. And not only, we talked about the shortness of staff, but also Medicare has certain guidelines that the hospice has to follow. How many times a nurse can go in, how many times, aides. That was one thing that just blew my mind. Now, some hospices will do more than the typical 3 visits, but I started seeing hospices knock those aid visits, the home health visits, to down to 2.
Yeah, because of staffing.
Well, staffing, and because the pay rate was lowered.
Yeah.
They're trying to make it up. And so, but some, if the family really, really needs it, they will go ahead and approve for a 3 or even more days if they need to, but not always. Again, it goes back to, do they have that staffing as well? So it just can vary from hospice to hospice. But the truth of the matter is, end of life care is 24/7. It's not just when the hospice comes in. And that's actually, I get told a lot from families. I thought hospice was 24/7 in my home. No, they're 24/7 by phone, not in your home.
Not in your home. Mm-mm. No, and sometimes, depending on the hospice, you're answered by an answering service after hours.
Yeah.
And then they've got to relay that phone call. And that takes time. Where if someone's working with a doula, pick up the phone and they call their doula, and they're going to help them through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, there's so many things that people just are misinformed or not even informed about, you know. But if you think that could be something for you as a doula to help and serve your community, you know, we always say if you don't have to have experience as a caregiver, you don't have to have a medical background. And if you do, great, because here at IDLM, we've actually had doctors, surgeons, nurse practitioners, social workers, chaplains, funeral directors, people with all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all walks of life are welcome here. And so, but you do need to like to help others and be able to advocate. And we teach you that as well here, to be non-judgmental, meet people where they're at, and hold space for a complex of emotions, and, you know, even sit with someone dying if that comes to play when you're visiting.
Absolutely.
Another question that we often quite get is, can doulas really make money? Yes, they can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, they can. You know, and when I hear that, or I see people post that on some of these groups that I'm in, I will say, well, what are you doing? And they say, well, I'm posting on social media. Well, that's all well and good. But if you're not going out into your community and speaking and holding workshops and educating your community and sharing the word in your community, how does your community know that you're there?
If you become a doula, and this is going to be your business, it has to be ran as a business. So you have to do all those things. You have to network. You have to advertise. You have to talk to people. You have to promote yourself. If you think that you're going to become a doula and you're going to post on Facebook, I'm a doula, hey, call me. Well, crickets, you're not going to get a call. But if you're posting information that is beneficial to people, interacting in groups that I interact in 2 groups here in Atlanta that are specifically for people looking for medical help and assistance with aging parents or with people coming home on hospice. And they'll put up a post and say, you know, we need help with X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's understanding the complex medical system. I respond to them. I post in there. I post helpful information. I go out and speak to communities. I go out and talk to groups. You network. Yes, then you're running a business and you're going to make an income. You know, I have to brag, Anna. There is someone here in the Atlanta market that had a great career with one of our major hospitals, had been there for 29 years, was planning to retire, came to us because this was her passion, took our classes, called me up one day and said, I really need you to mentor me because I quit. I said, excuse me? I quit. I said, what do you mean you quit? She said, I turned in my notice. She said, I'm leaving the hospital in 3 weeks. I was dumbfounded because she had a really cushiony, soft income. Today, she has replaced that income because she works this as a business. She talks to people. She's got her business cards. She's not depending on Facebook. In fact, you won't even find her on Facebook.
Too busy.
Too busy. And does she have a steady clientele? She keeps a steady clientele of 5 clients that she sees weekly. She has clients that are in dementia stages. She has clients that are in the final end of life stage. And she also has clients that are preparing for when they're going to need her. So she is doing doula work full service. So you have to look at what you want to do and expand your platform or your offerings, rather. You have to expand those offerings so that you have for everyone. Don't put yourself in a box.
Right. And you got to get in your community. And I love what we share here on this slide. It says, from the Grave Woman said this best, because some people will say, well, I don't know if I could charge. Well, let me tell you, that's fine. You don't have to if you don't want to. But let me tell you, um, people are paying for companionship through agencies and paying really a lot of money. And those people have no training in end of life
No, no.
and at all. And
And,
so,
and they're paying anywhere from $30 to $45 an hour for that warm body with no training.
yeah. Yeah. And so, but I love what the great woman said here. She said, becoming a funeral, death care, or end of life professional is not a vow of poverty. You deserve to earn a living serving others during one's most difficult time in their lives. Stop letting society guilt you into thinking that you don't. And I think that is so, so true. You know, and some people that come here, and I have to say this too here, Pam, that as we're talking about money and business, some people come to our program and say, you know, I have an interest in end of life. I want to better prepare myself. I want to learn because I am that person that a lot of times my family calls on, and I'm just going to probably help my family and friends. Don't worry, you still have a spot. You still have a
Yes.
part of the family here at IDLM. If that's what you want to do, that is totally okay. You can still come into our continuing education nights. You can still come and learn more with us here at IDLM. It's whatever you want to do. If you want to have a business, we got you. We're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. But if you want a business, we got you. If you want to come here just because you want to be around people that like to talk about end of life and planning and have those conversations, well, we're your group here too. If you want to do this work and volunteer, whatever you want to do, we support you 110%.
Yep. Absolutely. Totally. And we have, like you said, I mean, as you were saying that, I thought of several students that simply came so that they could support their family. I also know of a couple of students we've had that came to do this and actually donate their time because they just want to be of service. They're retired. They aren't trying to make an income. They're trying to make a difference. So it just depends on what you're looking for.
Exactly. You know, and we're always here too. We're always happy to talk and have that conversation with you. And you'll get our contact information after this presentation, just so you know how to reach out to us if you want to talk more. But here at IDLM, we offer an end-of-life doula program that trains in 4 different areas. And that is companion, life planning, contemplative, and end-of-life doula. Then we also offer additional specialty areas. So we kind of think of it like a 3-part kind of programming here. We encourage you to do the end of life doula. And then if you say, hey, you know what, I am going to be doing paperwork with families, then you're going to go into Pam's life planning doula specialist class. And Pam's going to share here in just a little bit, but once we get in there, because we do cover that in our doula program, but there's way more to it. Okay. And we'll tell you why about that in just a second. But we also have grief doula program, pediatrics, dementia, and medical assistance and medical aid and dying. So MAID. We also give discounts for once you take one of our core courses, you move on and you decide you want to specialize in pediatrics. Well, then you can take the pediatric course and you'll get special discount because you are family here at IDLM. The different type of formats that we offer are live, self-paced, and we are now offering in person for a few cities, and it's growing. So we have live online classes that are, like Pam had mentioned earlier, and we talked about that those are just that. They are interactive. That's not webinar based. We also have the self-paced option. Now we do tell students, they'll ask, well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is live, you get to answer your questions right then and there. You still get the same one-on-one support that we give all of our students. You still get your free access to the community app. You still get your free business 101, but you're just doing it on your own. And there's no time limit. No, I'm not going to be saying, oh, did you do any modules this week? No, you fully have to do that on your own. But also I want to say that we're not like other programs that after 6 months or even a year that you lose your material. No, you get more material, you get more updates, and we don't take that away from you. And then we also have the in-person classes. And currently we are offering those in San Antonio, Austin, New Jersey, and we will be opening up Arkansas in February of 2025 and some more locations. So please check out our website at www.internationaldoulalifemovement.com, and you're going to click courses. And there at that course landing page, you're going to see a little box that says in-person, live online, and self-paced. You can scroll down, you'll see the in-person locations that we'll be offering. And again, you want to frequently check those out because more cities and states are being added as we speak. We've got a few that I can't yet just confirm just quite yet, but we do have more coming. So please be sure to check that out if that's something you may want to look at. Our course modules. Whew, Pam. These
Yep.
I have promised the staff, the instructors, I am not going to add any more after this year. It'll just be continuously tweaking and adding more information to the current modules because we've added some new modules from originally. And I mean, heck, it's even different from when we first launched IDLM 4 years ago. But we kick off in our modules, which is a doula's guide to personal safety and boundaries. And the reason why we have that module is because, one, when you're going out to homes in different areas, we want you to know how to protect yourself. The other thing is we have to know about boundaries. What is okay for our boundaries? And so we'll have those conversations. We do have an IDLM orientation within the program. We also have our Doula 101, which basically goes over the difference between hospice, palliative, patient rights, quite a bit of discussion there. We do also have our code of ethics and scope of practice, LGBTQ plus inclusivity practice, the contemplative module where we talk about contemplative practices and what that looks like. We also talk about getting in touch with your own mortality, because if you're not in touch with your own mortality, how can you help somebody else explore theirs? We talk about holding end of life and death discussions. We also have a beautiful partnership with Lisa from the Death Deck, who actually has a module in our program. And she talks to you and shares with you, one, you do get a special discount code for those the Death Deck and the EOL deck cards if you decide you wanted to purchase those, but she teaches you how to use them to educate your families and help use those two cards to carry a conversation about end of life and end of life wishes. We do also go into, now the stages of end of life is really a large module because we have the introduction, and because we also have our licensing rights and a beautiful partnership with Barbara Carnes, we do show you and have permission to show you the This Is How You Die series, which is a 3-part video series that we will watch and discuss in class. Then we also have a beautiful partnership with Odonata Care, the hospice care plan. And so in that module, you're going to learn how to use the book, and you'll get to hear tips from Nancy and Brenda. We have our doula apprenticeship, and you'll see that happening throughout the program. And what that is if you're doing the online live classes, we're going to go out in breakout rooms, and you're going to have situations. And basically we have them spread out throughout the program. So little by little, we're piecing everything together with you so that by the time you're done with the program, you can say, oh, I already know what to do. You're going to have more confidence as a doula going out and serving your community and what your steps are that you need to take. We will also talk about obituaries, eulogies, hospital planning, and vigil planning. We'll also talk about medical aid in dying and voluntary stop eating, and drinking, which is called VSED. We'll be talking about coping with grief and loss for doulas and how you're going to, one, on the doula side, and then also so that you can be better eyes and ears to be able to say, oh, you know what, my client is experiencing anticipatory grief. We'll also talk about common diseases and infection control. And now, yes, we are non-medical, but I have to say this, and you will hear me say this when we teach this module, is that, yes, we are non-medical, but guess what? We here at IDLM want to empower you as doulas to be able to understand the disease process. This is going to better help you serve your clients. We also talk about, we have a whole module dedicated to pediatric hospice and parent loss. A new module that is being added this semester, this coming year, is client safety, patient, and bedside support. And like I had mentioned before, we have a partnership with Odonata Care, the hospice care plan, and there are going to be selected videos in that self-study module that you're going to watch. And it's a lot of questions that you will probably be asked as a doula or find when you're working with clients that you may need to know about. So that is going to really help you there. We also have our companion doula, communication, teledoula module where we talk about, what do you do as a companion doula? And then we have Doulato, which is another partnership that we have, and you get 6 months free of that platform. And it's a platform to run your business. So if you are going to start a business, this is an amazing platform to use. Me and the doulas here in San Antonio actually use it quite often, because sometimes if I am going out of town to travel, I can sign it to a graduate and they can see my notes. They can see what's been going on with the patient so that they know what's going on. We also will go over paperwork, and we have to say, Pam, we give them the templates and they're not branded to us here at IDLM.
No, we give you everything you need. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You don't have to start over. You get agreements, you get everything already done. The only thing you have to do, inlay your name and phone number. And if you've got, something special you want to add to it, if you want to add your own catch lines, whatever, you can add something to it. You can make it and brand it to you. Just like you see in the corner of this slide, it says International Doula Life Movement. If you're the ABC company, you can put your branding as the ABC company. You can put your own insignia on it, and it becomes your paperwork. Because we are not promoting International Doula Life Movement through your work. We're promoting you through your work, and hope that when people go, wow, where'd you get this amazing training? You'll tell them you got it at IDLM.
Yeah, and it's so important too, because I had a student that came to us one time and said, I went to another program and she gave us these documents, but she did not want us to put our logo on it. What she told them was to staple their business card to it.
Yeah, no.
And we don't do that here. So we want you to brand yourself. We want you to do that. And the paperwork that we give you are things to help you along with your business as a doula, not just the business aspect, but working with the client, initial discovery meetings with your clients, those face-to-face when you're first meeting them. Another thing that we also do here is case studies. So there is a case study that has to be turned in, and we're actually going to share one here with you in just a few, but we have a module set aside that we are going to talk about that and what the requirements are. And I tell everybody, don't worry about that until we get to it, because right now you need to focus on learning all the steps and learning what you need to do as a doula. And then we'll get to case planning. We also talk about home wakes, cremations and funerals, and green options, celebrations, ceremonies. And then Pam, will you share a little bit about the life planning now? If you can share with them how it's different from what we cover here in the End of Life Doula program, and then your separate course, because Pam and I, we always laugh when we see people say, oh, you're going to learn everything you need to know in an hour or 4 hours, or, about advanced directives. Well, that's BS. So
yeah. Really
straightforward here. We give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we don't sugar lace anything.
Well, and in the doula class, we talk about the basic. And when I say the basic, we talk about the basic end of life form. We promote the 5 wishes form at IDLM. And so we go through the 5 wishes form. It is accepted across the United States, and we go through any special requirements that are needed by state, which generally is only having it notarized. But everything, in my opinion, in your taught in this class, that your advanced care plans are always witnessed and notarized. So for a special requirement for 5 wishes, that is generally the only thing, but we do it anyway. We talk about a little bit about how to prepare people as far as additional things they need. But the life planning class is only about an hour and 20 minutes long in this module. The life planning class on its own as a standalone class is 17 and a half weeks. It is 2.5 hours for every class. That doesn't include the information that's put into your portal. It is a lot of information, because advanced care planning is more than that simple 5-page document of 5 wishes. Advanced care planning is talking about the logistics of who's going to get what. Do you have a will? Do you have an estate? Do you have a trust? What about all your accounts? What about any investments? What about online presence? What about media? There is so much to be included in an advanced care plan. That's why we have a standalone class that supports that. And if someone is looking and wanting to do end-of-life work and looking for a specialty, end-of-life planning is a specialty. It is something you can go into your community, to your local library, and hold open call where the library will promote you, and you'll have people come in and you can talk to them about advanced care planning. Advanced care planning is something everyone needs from the time they are 18, not just when they're critically ill and dying. And a good advanced care plan, when put together, can fill a 3.5-inch ring binder. It includes so much documentation. It is your life in a book. And it is what families need in order to close out someone's life at the end of life. It answers all the questions that are going to come up, from social security numbers to insurance identification numbers to life planning, body disposition, accounts. We cover everything. It's a very in-depth, deep dive. And I will say, I started this class now. What is this going on? 4 years now, Anna? Started it 4 years ago. And when I first started it, the class was only 8 classes long, I believe. And now it's up to 17 classes. People take this course and come back and take it multiple times. And I've had attorneys take this course and then say, how did you know that? And I knew it because of the School of Hard Knocks, from having done this work for so long. So advanced care planning, Anna and I always say that if you take the end-of-life doula course and you couple that with advanced care planning, you can start a business right there. You can start a business just doing advanced care planning, but you need to know how to structure that end-of-life doula work within advanced care planning, because that makes you an asset that everybody needs. And then from that, you can go on and build. We have, the pet doula course. We have a dementia course. And when you think about all these different things, you really need to think about what's important to you and what you want to do as far as building a business for the future.
Right, because everybody's practice is different in what
totally.
they're cover, what they're going to do. And so, again, there's so much, we don't skim the surface here. We don't just give you little nuggets of information. We take very seriously what we're doing, and the doulas going out and to serve their communities. We want them to be well-surrounded doulas with the knowledge that they need to be able to help their families and the communities that they're working with. We also are adding a new module this year called Caring for the Clients and Their Pets at End of Life, and that will be a self-study module. So there are a few self-study modules throughout the program, and then the rest are all done, if you're in the live class, or if you're doing self-study, then you're watching them all on your own. But the Caring for the Clients and Their Pets, that module is done by Lindy Carter, who is one of the pet doula instructors, and she's going to tell you things that you need to do to be mindful, to give you some resources as well. If you have a client that has a pet, right, and they are dying, maybe that they're already on hospice, what they need to do, as well as, again, we do work before terminal illness. So putting some things into place if something was to happen as well. We also have our Making Memory Legacy module, religions, we talk about. And then we also talk, and we have a class time for presenting to your community and to hospice. How are you going to do that? We help you and give you tools to do that. Throughout the program, you're going to have assignments. We will have the case study that you'll turn in, and we also have quizzes and one final exam. Quizzes and exams are taken in our portal system, and you can take those as many times as you need. What I'd like to do next is share with you a case study done by one of our students. Now, I have to tell you, our case study, this student had a little bit more background. Please don't think that, oh my God, I got to turn in something like this. No. But what we want you to see is what it looks like to work with a patient as a doula. And to be able to see the process. And she kind of does this as the patient perspective. So take a watch, and we're going to come right back with you all.
Yeah, my name is Isabel, but my friends and family always called me Izzy. Up here they try and be a little more formal, but I can be a bit rebellious. So it's Izzy up here too. I was right. Heaven is what you want it to be. I get to have my barefoot toes in the sand every day. It truly is heaven. I want to take a minute and tell you a little story. Not your typical fairy time bedtime story, but more so about someone who helped me live the best death of my life. So forgive me in advance if I get a little choked up. A little background. I was mad, was angry. Boy, I was confused when the doctor looked me in the face and said that my stage 4 cervical cancer had gone into my bones. My brothers, Doug and Kevin, and my mother were immediately by my side. You know I love my brothers when I made them powers of attorney back when I did my advance directive. I'm a planner by nature, you see. Best I can anyway. But life sure does have a way of throwing a wrench in that planning sometimes. All right, sorry, back on track. The doctor told me he wanted me to consider hospice. Those 7 letters scared me to death, literally. So I wanted to chat with my family about that decision. But the pain just became, oh God, it was just so much. So they admitted me into their inpatient unit. And I'm not gonna lie, the morphine and the Ativan became my very best friends. Mom and the boys decided they never wanted me to be alone, even though I was in a 24-hour care facility. So they brought in an end-of-life doula. Her name was Heather, and I remember the first time she walked into my room. I was certainly apprehensive, but my family reassured me and reminded me that God had my back. She certainly wasn't there to add confusion. Mom actually said she did an incredible job explaining how she would support all of us, what her rates were. It was all spelled out in a contract. She had talked with Mom and knew a lot about me already, but she wanted to talk to me too. She wanted to know how things were. Wasn't too excited about sharing a lot of stuff, but she said it was important and it was a good thing to do. It would even help eliminate stress on my family. She asked me about my diagnosis, what my thoughts were, how I was feeling. She knew details like Doug was my main power of attorney and that my advance directive was in my file she had created. She knew I was safe in a hospice and that my family was very engaged. She took all of that and developed a care plan. That girl listened a lot. I wish I had thought to ask her about herself and her family, but she stayed completely focused on us. Heather was gentle, honest, and spoke in a plain non-medical language. Mom says she wasn't a medical professional, but she certainly followed HIPAA to a T, and I was grateful for that. Heather never crossed any lines. She let the doctors and nurses do my medical. She let the chaplain do my faith. She was just there for us. Even went to get dinner a few times. Needless to say, since Kevin was in charge of paying, they got Chick-fil-A a lot. Boy, that boy loves him some sandwiches. I'm not gonna lie, I miss him too. And she never took sides, even when Kevin and Doug were quarreling. She just wouldn't pick a side. She just pulled out of her magic bag a pamphlet and let them look over it, and they figured out the answer all on their own. And that bag, it was something like out of a Mary Poppins movie. She could pull anything out of it from Kleenex to the Bible. not gonna lie, I wanted to die at home, and that was my goal. Being in a monitored facility is great, I guess, and they definitely do their best to make it homey. But let's be real, it ain't. Not only were they in and out, I had lots of visitors. Heather had asked how I felt about that, so she was gracious to them and allowed them time, answered their questions, even referred them to resources. She never, ever predicted my death. She just told them, yes, Izzy is dying. You know what else is cool? When they called to ask to come visit, Mom and Heather told them to bring Ostromeris flowers. My room was filled with them. They were so beautiful, more than you will ever know. Things were starting to get worse, and the pain just kept increasing. Now, I'll admit I started losing my faith and questioning the heck out of God. I was a good woman. I volunteered at a homeless shelter, the Boys and Girls Club. Those kids had my heart. But God was losing mine. She just sat there and listened. She seemed to absorb so much and thought about things that we never would have, like asking me if there was anybody in particular I wanted to see. I emphatically remember saying yes, yes. She looked at me with pure joy in her heart and asked if she could get my kids from the Boys and Girls Club on a Zoom call. And that girl made it happen. I put on my bravest face, and I remember looking at those 5 beautiful souls, told them I believed in them and I'd watch over them. Cried like a daggone baby when we were finished, but it filled me with such love. I remember that night, Heather looking at me and asking me how bad my pain was. I didn't lie. Besides, she could already tell. It was horrific. It was then that she asked how I guess really how I was feeling about my struggles with God. When I couldn't get the words out, she asked if I wanted the chaplain to come in. I hadn't realized it, but it was what I needed. And she made it happen. And she just sat there holding my hand as the chaplain began to restore my faith. I still don't know what her religious beliefs were, because to her, the only ones that mattered were mine. My mom had always been my biggest supporter, and being in the room so often was wearing her down. Heather looked at her with such compassion and explained that if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of others. Even she made sure to take care of herself because she always wanted to have the energy and the heart to help others. Mom finally went home. She took a shower and a nap. There were times when I didn't understand what was going on around me. I think my body knew I was dying, and I knew the pain was beyond what any human should have to endure. Heather always supported the hospice advice and even shared with them that my pain was unbearable. They were fantastic, but I really think she and I truly connected, and I still believe it was her and her concerns that convinced them to put me in that induced coma. I remember so many internal battles, just so many. And I remember drifting off into that coma, but I can't tell you how grateful I was not to be in pain anymore. I knew God had me then and that Heather had my family, but let's not get it twisted. I had always heard that hearing was the last sense to go. You know what? They're right. Things were a little fuzzy, but I could feel the beautiful energy in that room and hear those sweet words coming from the mouths of the ones I loved. Everyone was around me when I took my last breath. It was far sooner than I had ever hoped. I was 39 years old, 3 weeks from my diagnosis, and boom, I was gone. But you want to know something super cool? Angels have power. I was able to witness things to this day that I find amazing. Heather's contract was written and paid in advance, but when my passing happened so much sooner than expected, Heather gave Mom part of her money back. That's honesty and confidence. That girl documented everything. Mom literally had a play-by-play. While Heather didn't have to share her notes with her, she did. Heather sat there and typed my obituary out based on what I had told her and the information Mom gave her. It told everyone about my love for travel, and art, and music, and dance. My favorite songs were played at my funeral, and Heather even suggested that my artwork be displayed for everyone to see. And it was a little embarrassing. I remember watching from afar, and I was completely blown away at all the Ostermary's flowers. How could they find so many? Doug and Evan handled most of the details, but Mom and Heather put the extra touches on it. It was then that I pretty much understood why Heather was so inquisitive. She was inquisitive while I was laying in that bed, really just not completely understanding why she was asking me those questions. But she wanted things to be perfect. She wanted them the way I wanted them. She had everything at her fingertips to guide my family through the whole process. And if she didn't, she figured it out. She didn't come to my funeral. She was with another young woman who needed her. But she checked in several more times with Mom and helped her with grief support. You know, it's not so bad here in my little piece of heaven. I miss my family, but I know they and Heather helped me live the best death of my life. Well, it's time for me to go. I'm being fitted for my wings shortly. These training ones are a little awkward and kind of itchy, but they're letting me get pink ones. I'm super excited. And I gotta do something about this music up here. I need a little more fun.
Well, I hope that kind of gives you a good idea about what doulas do and the type of work and how that might take place and look like for those of you. All right. So some other things here that we offer here at IDLM is we give you a free Business 101 course along with the program. We do graduations several times throughout the year. Those are online. They are live graduations online that we do. That you're able to invite friends and family to come and join you and celebrate. We do send you a physical certificate. We do also give you a free listing in our IDLM doula directory. We also have, which I'm going to show you here in just a second, is our movement. And in that movement, there's our book club society, free grief support for doulas. So whether it's your own personal grief or grief of a client, you have that support as a doula to have that grief support. We also do family groups nights. We do require all of our students, our graduates, to maintain continuing education, of which we give you free, and those are listed in the movement. We do have state groups. We do also have ongoing graduate support. And again, we do those free updates that you get part of your program. Once you purchase your program, you get those free updates constantly. And so we do give all of our students free access to our private doula community, which offers, again, ongoing discussions, groups, library of resources and business tools. We also have new workshops and continuing education that also happens in there, as well as special events that we host here at IDLM. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of take you in there for just a second and show you what that looks like. So this is the community app here. You are able to see events. And I do have to mention that our events, if you go to the past events, you will see about 3.5 years, I guess, of recordings and things. The only thing we don't record are things such as our grief support group. And I don't think they're recording the book club, but we do have quite a bit of different little things that happen throughout here at IDLM that we share, different guest speakers that come in and speak and things like that. So you can go back and watch those recordings. We have news and announcements. We have a library of resources here, workshops and webinars where there's links that you can take a look at, mindsets and habits, professional shares. And then our courses have their own special group as well that you can join when you purchase a course. And that's just kind of our little private group for our groups of different programs that we offer. Let's see. We do have a death positive talk that Lindy and Christine, two of our instructors, run once a month. We do also have some other little groups there, as you can tell. But this is our community app that you get access to for free. Let's see here. Go back to my other screen. So you're probably wondering how much, and what I will tell you is go to our website at www.internationaldoulalifemovement.com, and there at our website you are able to see the most current pricing. We do also offer payment plans, and that is also there. Now I do want to say, if the payment plan doesn't fit your budget, please call us and let us know, and we will work with you. And if you say, hey, you know what, I want to take the end of life doula class and I want to take the life planning doula class, still call us, because then we can give you a special discount price as well. We try to work with everybody. So otherwise, the payment plans and things and the pricing are all listed on there. Whatever day of the month that you make the first payment, that is the next following month that it will take out the next payment. If you ever need to change that or have questions about that, again, feel free to give us a call. I'm going to leave this up here for just a second on the screen where you can email us at or register for your classes. Again, if you go to our main website, which is www.internationaldoulalifemovement.com, you will want to click the courses tab there, and you'll be able to see all the course offering that we do offer here at IDLM. Again, our phone number is listed 210-721-3422, and you can always email us at doulasupport@internationaldoulalifemovement.com. Pam, is there anything else that you can think of that we might need to share with them today?
I think we've covered a lot of territory today.
A lot of information.
Yeah, a lot of information. And I think it's, the best advice would be check it all out, give us a call, ask questions. And I would say, do your research. Even if you're looking at us and you're looking at somebody else, really pay attention. Pay attention to the support you're going to get, what the community is actually like. Look at where the students from the other classes are at today. And I say that because with our platform, the movement, and then with the things that we offer, our students stay together. And that is so important, because so many times I hear, gosh, I don't have anybody to talk to. And as a student of IDLM, that's not true. You've always got somebody to talk to. They can always reach out to you. They can reach out to me. They can reach out to any of the instructors here. We're all here for the same purpose. And that's because we want to make a difference and change the face of death in America.
Well, nobody has our secret sauce. So
No.
they don't. And, another thing too, I want to say is that, I always say this at graduation, is that, it's a friendship. So you're not just a student or a graduate here at IDLM, you become our friends as well and part of our family. And, we have worked with many students of ours, graduates of ours, that have maybe lost their parents, a sibling. I know that, and Pam, you and both of us have been on the phone at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, I'm seeing something I'm not too sure about, or my mom is actually transitioning right now, and we're right there with them. So it's more than just a school or just coming here for education. It's community. Yeah, it is the education too, because I will tell you, we give that top-notch education. So we don't take little skims of things. We take deep dives into things. If we're going to teach you something, we're going to teach you all of it. We don't want you to go out and not feel secure or not have the full knowledge of things. We want to make sure that you have everything.
And I think it's important too, Anna, to point out that people can get in touch with us. We're not in the witness protection program. We're not hiding behind assistants or other, people that they're fronting for us. If they need to talk to us, they get our phone numbers. They can call us directly at any time. And I think it's important too, like you said, 2 or 3 in the morning. And I have been on the phone, and you have been on the phone with students who were going through their own family issues and just needed that support. And we're there for that. We don't put you on voice message or internal hold.
No. And I mean, or even being out with a client and saying, hey, I just saw this. What, we need some help, or what would you do? My San Antonio classes actually have called it Phone Anna. So, it's Phone Anna. So they all know that they have a Phone Anna in their pocket that they can call and ask for help too. So, but that's all the same with all of our instructors. We're all here willing to work with you because we are so passionate about what we do here at IDLM.
Absolutely.
And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And thank you so much for joining in and watching our discovery.
Thanks much. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Good night, Anna.
Good night.